I brought you food.
Thank you, my child.
Poor Amina barely had enough to eat, yet she carried her last plate to the mad woman every day. The village laughed, calling her a fool for wasting her precious food. They didn't know the mad woman wasn't mad at all and had been counting every act of kindness. Let me tell you the story. The laughter started before Amina even reached the village square. There goes the fool. Mama Kemi's voice rang out like a bell, sharp and mocking. Going to feed that cursed creature again. Amina kept walking, her bare feet creating small clouds of dust on the red earth. In her trembling hands, she carried a dented tin plate with 3 small yam cubes, the only food she would see today. Her stomach had been empty for 2 days. The hunger gnawed at her insides like a living thing, twisting and clawing, begging her to eat, but she wouldn't. She never did. Stupid girl! Chief Okonkwo spat from his veranda, his massive belly shaking as he laughed. That mad woman is possessed by demons. You share food with evil itself. The children were worst. They danced around Amina in circles, their chant echoing off the mud walls. Crazy Amina! Crazy Amina! Friends with the mad woman! Both of them insane! 16-year-old Amina had heard it all before. Every single day for the past year, she had walked this path of shame. Her wrapper, more holes than fabric, barely covered her skeletal frame. Her hair was matted, uncombed for weeks. She slept in the chicken coop behind her stepmother's house because she wasn't allowed inside. The chickens ate better than she did, but none of it mattered when she saw her. The mad woman sat in her usual spot, the diseased iroko tree at the village edge that everyone avoided. Her hair was a wild grey nest tangled with leaves and dirt. Her wrapper was black with filth, torn in 100 places. Her skin was covered in sores and scabs. She muttered constantly to invisible companions, her eyes rolling white. Everyone said she'd been mad for 10 years. Some said she was a witch. Others said she was cursed for a terrible sin. Children believed she ate human flesh at night. No one remembered her real name anymore. She was just the mad woman, a warning, a ghost, a monster. But Amina saw something different. When she knelt and placed the plate before the mad woman, their eyes met for just a moment. And in that brief second, Amina saw recognition. She saw intelligence. She saw something that made no sense. She saw sorrow. The mad woman grabbed the yam cubes with filthy fingers and stuffed them into her mouth. But as Amina stood to leave, something happened that had never happened before. The mad woman's hand shot out and grabbed Amina's wrist. Her grip was strong, too strong for someone who should be weak and insane. Her eyes locked onto Amina's with sudden, perfect clarity. Then she whispered 2 words that made Amina's blood freeze. Soon, child. Amina couldn't sleep that night. She lay in the chicken coop, straw poking into her back, replaying those words over and over. Soon, child. What did it mean? The mad woman had never spoken before. Never. In the entire year Amina had been feeding her, there had been only grunts, mutters, and incomprehensible babbling. But Amina had no time to dwell on mysteries. As dawn broke, her stepmother's shrill voice pierced the morning. Amina, get out here and fetch water. 20 trips to the stream before the sun is high, or you don't eat for 3 more days. This was Amina's life. Her mother had died giving birth to her. Her father had remarried when Amina was 5, a beautiful woman named Zainab, who smiled sweetly in public but turned to poison in private. When Amina's father died 2 years ago, everything changed overnight. Zainab took everything. The house, the land, the money, the respect. She had her own daughter, Halima, spoiled, cruel, and beautiful. Halima slept on a soft mattress. Amina slept with chickens. Halima wore new wrappers every week. Amina wore rags. Halima ate 3 meals a day. Amina scavenged for scraps. The arrangement was simple. Amina worked as Zainab's slave in exchange for the occasional handful of food. Most days, Zainab forgot to feed her. It had been on one of those starving days, exactly 1 year ago, that Amina first encountered the mad woman. She'd been dizzy with hunger, stumbling through the village, when she saw the woman digging through a garbage pile like an animal. Something inside Amina broke. She had half a cassava root, her only food in 3 days. But, watching the mad woman's desperate searching, Amina couldn't eat it. She'd walked over and placed the cassava in the woman's hands. The mad woman had looked at her then with those strange, intelligent eyes that seemed to see straight into Amina's soul. And from that day forward, Amina couldn't stop. Every scrap of food she received, she split with the mad woman. Even when she was dying of hunger herself. "You're insane," Halima said now, watching Amina return from the stream with the 20th bucket of water. "Everyone's talking about it. You feed that demon woman while you yourself are starving. What's wrong with you?" Amina said nothing. She never did. "Father!" Halima called into the house. "Come see this stupid girl." Not father. Village elder Adeyemi, the man Zainab was courting, the man who would soon become Halima's stepfather. He emerged, his face twisted with disgust, as he looked at Amina. "This is the girl you told me about?" he asked Zainab. "The one wasting food on that cursed woman?" "Every single day," Zainab confirmed, her voice dripping with contempt. Adeyemi's eyes narrowed. "Food is sacred. To waste it on a mad demon is an offense against the gods. Tomorrow, I will call a village meeting. This foolishness ends now." That night, lying in the darkness of the chicken coop, Amina wept silently. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Tomorrow, she would feed the mad woman again. She always did. The meeting was held under the ancient baobab tree where all village decisions were made. Every adult in the village attended. This was entertainment, after all. The chance to humiliate poor, stupid Amina. Amina stood in the center of the circle, facing the council of elders. Elder Adeyemi presided, his voice booming across the gathering. "Amina, daughter of the late Chike, you stand accused of wasting food, a gift from the gods, on a creature cursed by darkness. How do you plead?" "I don't waste it, sir," Amina said quietly. "I share it. She's hungry." Laughter erupted. Harsh, cruel laughter that made Amina's cheeks burn with shame. "She's hungry?" Mama Kemi shrieked. "She's possessed. She's not even human anymore. 10 years she's been mad, 10 years. She's a warning from the gods about sin and wickedness." "The girl is as mad as the woman she feeds," Chief Okonkwo declared. "Madness breeds madness. Perhaps we should drive them both out of the village." The crowd murmured agreement. Amina felt panic rising in her chest. Elder Adeyemi raised his hand for silence. "I propose a solution. Amina will be forbidden from going near the mad woman. If she disobeys, she will be banished from this village permanently. All in favor?" Every hand went up. "It is decided," Adeyemi announced with satisfaction. "From this moment forward, Amina, you are forbidden from approaching that cursed tree. If you are seen anywhere near the mad woman, you will be driven out with nothing but the rags on your back. Do you understand?" Amina's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, sir." But in her heart, she was already planning. That evening, she waited until the village slept. The moon was barely a sliver, providing just enough light to see the path. She crept from the chicken coop, her heart pounding, carrying her dinner a small piece of fish and 2 spoonfuls of rice that Zainab had grudgingly provided. The diseased Iroko tree loomed in the darkness. The mad woman was there, as always, rocking back and forth, muttering to the shadows. "I brought you food," Amina whispered, kneeling down. The mad woman's head snapped up. In the moonlight, her eyes were perfectly clear again, just like yesterday. She took the plate, but instead of eating, she did something that made Amina gasp. She spoke. clear words, perfect words. They will try to separate us, child, but you must keep coming. Everything depends on it. Your kindness is the only thing keeping this village from destruction. I don't understand, Amina breathed. The mad woman's hand, suddenly clean, suddenly smooth, reached up and touched Amina's cheek with infinite tenderness. You were never meant to understand. You were only meant to love. And you have loved so perfectly, so purely, that you have done what no one else in this village could do. You have seen the human in the monster. You have fed the forgotten. You have loved the unlovable. Tears streamed down Amina's face. Who are you? The woman smiled, a heartbreaking, beautiful smile that transformed her entire face. Tomorrow you will know. Tomorrow everything changes. But tonight know this. You are not the fool they call you. You are the only wise one among them, the only one who passed the test. Before Amina could respond, voices erupted from the darkness. There, I see her, by the tree. Torches blazed to life. Elder Adeyemi, Zainab, Halima, and half the village emerged from the shadows. They had followed her. They had been waiting. Seize her, Adeyemi commanded. She has defied the council. She will be banished. Rough hands grabbed Amina, dragging her away from the mad woman. She struggled, but she was too weak from hunger, too small, too powerless. Please, Amina screamed. Please, she needs me. She'll starve. Let her starve, Zainab spat viciously. Let them both rot. Elder Adeyemi's face was twisted with rage. You were warned, girl. Now you face the consequences. You are banished. You will leave this village at dawn and never return. If you come back, you will be stoned. The crowd cheered. Finally, they would be rid of the embarrassing fool who shamed them all with her stupidity. But then the mad woman stood up. It happened slowly, deliberately. She rose to her full height, taller than anyone remembered. The filthy rags that covered her began to shimmer in the torchlight, transforming. The matted hair loosened, cascaded down her back in gleaming silver waves. The sores and scabs faded like morning mist, revealing smooth, ageless skin that glowed with an otherworldly light. The village fell silent. Completely, utterly silent. The woman who stood before them was no longer mad. She was magnificent. Her eyes blazed with power that made strong men fall to their knees. Her presence filled the air with electricity, with ancient magic, with terrible divine authority. When she spoke, her voice resonated like thunder and whispered like wind simultaneously. I am Osun, goddess of the river that feeds your crops, that fills your wells, that gives life to your children. 10 years ago, I came to this village in disguise to test your hearts. I came as the lowest, the forgotten, the despised. I came to see who among you possessed true kindness. Horror rippled through the crowd. People began dropping to their knees, trembling. For 10 years, I starved, I suffered, I was mocked, spat upon, stoned by your children, cursed by your elders. For 10 years, not one of you offered me a single grain of rice. Not one. Her eyes found Amina, who stood frozen in shock, still held by the villagers who now released her in terror. Except this child, this beautiful child you call fool. For 1 full year she has fed me from her own starvation. She has given me her only food, her only kindness, her only love. When she had nothing, she shared nothing with me. When you gave her scraps, she divided those scraps in half. The goddess's voice hardened, became sharp as broken glass, and tonight you condemned her for it. Tonight you banished the only righteous soul among you. Elder Adeyemi's voice shook. Great Osun, forgive us. We didn't know. You didn't care? The goddess's voice exploded like lightning. That is the truth. You didn't care enough to see. You didn't care enough to question. You saw someone suffering and you laughed. You saw someone hungry and you hoarded. You saw someone giving and you mocked. She turned back to Amina, and her voice became gentle again, filled with infinite love. "Come here, my daughter." Amina walked forward on trembling legs. The goddess took her hands. "You will never hunger again. You will never suffer again. I give you my blessing, prosperity, wisdom, and a long life filled with joy. This village that rejected you will watch as you rise higher than they ever dreamed possible." Then Osun turned back to the crowd, and her expression became terrible. "As for the rest of you, you will learn the cost of cruelty. Your river will run dry for 1 full year. Your crops will fail. Your wells will turn bitter. You will know the hunger that Amina knew. You will know the suffering you ignored. And perhaps then you will learn what this child knew from birth, that kindness is the only currency that matters to the gods." The goddess Osun kept her word. By morning, the river had stopped flowing. Within a week, the village wells turned brackish and bitter. Within a month, the crops withered in the fields. The village that had mocked Amina for her poverty now discovered what true poverty meant. But Amina flourished. The goddess had touched her, and everything changed. The chicken coop where she'd slept transformed into a beautiful cottage with a real bed, real walls, real comfort. Her rags became fine wrappers that made even Halima weep with envy. Her empty stomach was filled with abundant food that appeared as if by magic each morning. But more than material wealth, Osun gave Amina knowledge. Wisdom flowed into her like water into a vessel. She learned healing, learned farming techniques no one else knew, learned the secrets of herbs and medicine. And Amina, with her pure heart unchanged by blessing or curse, did something the village never expected. She helped them anyway. When Chief Okonkwo's daughter fell sick with fever, it was Amina who appeared at his door with medicine. When Mama Kemi's grandson was bitten by a snake, it was Amina who extracted the venom and saved his life. When Elder Adeyemi's crops failed completely, it was Amina who showed him how to grow food even in drought. One by one, the villagers came to her, ashamed, humbled, begging forgiveness. "Why do you help us?" Mama Kemi wept one day, holding Amina's hands. "After everything we did to you, why?" Amina smiled the same gentle smile she'd always had, even in her darkest days. "Because someone must choose kindness first. Someone must break the cycle of cruelty. The goddess taught me that kindness given without expectation of return is the only kindness that truly transforms the world." Even Zainab came eventually, crawling to Amina's door. Her beauty had faded with stress and hunger. Halima stood behind her, no longer spoiled and proud, but thin and desperate. "I took everything from you," Zainab whispered, unable to meet Amina's eyes. "Your father's house, your inheritance, your dignity. I treated you worse than an animal, and still you help this village. Still you help even me." Amina had every right to turn her away, every right to let her stepmother suffer as she had suffered. The goddess herself would have understood revenge, but Amina had never learned how to hate. "Come inside," she said softly. "You're hungry. Let me feed you." As the year of drought progressed, something miraculous happened in that village. People began to change. They began to see each other differently. They began to help one another, to share, to sacrifice. Chief Okonkwo started sharing his stored grain. Mama Kemi began caring for orphaned children. Elder Adeyemi stepped down from his position, admitting his judgment had been clouded by pride. The village was transforming not because of divine punishment, but because one girl had shown them what true humanity looked like. On the last day of the drought, exactly 1 year after the goddess revealed herself, Osun returned. She appeared at the village center in her radiant form, and every villager fell to their knees. But the goddess was smiling. "You have learned," she said. "You have changed. One righteous soul among you became a light that illuminated all the darkness. This is how kingdoms rise and fall, one heart at a time." She looked at Amina with pride that would make any mother weep. "And you, my beloved daughter, have exceeded even my hopes. I offered you wealth and comfort, and you chose service. I offered you revenge, and you chose forgiveness. You are everything humanity should be. The goddess raised her hands, and the sky opened. Rain poured down, sweet, clean, life-giving rain. The river roared back to life. The wells filled with crystal water. The land sang with renewal. But the greatest transformation wasn't in the land. It was in the people. Years later, travellers would speak of a village in the heart of the land where kindness was the highest law, where the poor were cherished, where the suffering were comforted, where strangers were welcomed like family. They called it Amina's village, though Amina herself always laughed at the name. It was never about me, she would say, grey now threading through her hair, surrounded by children and grandchildren who had never known hunger. It was about remembering that every person, no matter how broken, how dirty, how forgotten, deserves to be seen, to be fed, to be loved. And on quiet evenings, when the river ran full and the crops grew tall, villagers would gather and tell the story of the girl everyone called a fool, the girl who gave her last piece of bread to a mad woman, the girl who saved an entire village by refusing to stop loving. The story of Amina, who taught them all that the greatest power in the world isn't wealth or strength or magic. It's kindness, pure, relentless, transformative kindness. When everyone laughed at poor Amina for feeding the mad woman, they never imagined that kindness could be a test from the gods themselves. But Amina knew something they didn't. True wealth isn't measured in gold, but in the love we give when we have nothing left to give.